Welcome to the Inspiring Humans podcast. We are so happy to have you listening. My name is Stephanie Woolard, and this podcast is a platform to showcase the incredible human spirit. On this podcast, I'll be interviewing people from all over the world and all walks of life who will be sharing with us their personal dreams and their dreams for the future. I believe that through coming together and creating community, incredible things are possible. In fact, anything is possible. And I hope that this podcast is a launch pad for creating the new world that we want to see, that will have humanity free, thriving, and living in their full self-expression. Welcome, Jorge. My beautiful friend Jorge Marubia is going to be on our podcast today and sharing his epic life. Jorge, welcome to the Inspiring Humans podcast.
Oh, Steffi, thank you very much for the invitation.
So you're in Mexico at the moment in your hometown called Puebla.
Yeah. It's funny that you say at your epic life, because I don't know how much epic will it be, but yeah, I do live in the city of Puebla, 2 hours from Mexico City. Beautiful town because we have the view of 2 extremely beautiful volcanoes here, 2 of the highest points in the country.
Amazing. And I had the privilege of meeting you at a kind of world convention. I think it was in Toronto originally, was it, or Atlanta?
I think it was Atlanta. We met in 2017 in Atlanta. Yeah.
Atlanta, that's right. And we have both done a master's in peace and conflict research, you in Japan and me in Sweden, for 2 years. And that was a scholarship from Rotary. So that's how we met. And I just remember when we both met a lot of people at that big convention in Atlanta, but I think sometimes a few people kind of stick with you. And I just remember you had fantastic energy, really, positive energy. And I thought, I'd really love to stay in contact with this guy. So here we are now on the podcast. And so I'd love to just kind of share a little bit about what you're currently working on. And then I'd love to, hear about your life journey and what's led you to do what you're doing today.
Okay, so thank you again for making up the space for this conversation. As we were sharing just before the start in the recording, I am very usually shy about these kind of things. However, if I share something of the work that we currently do, I can say that after coming back from my fellowship in 2010, I did the master degree in public administration. And my work experience, since I am 39 years old now. Since I was 16, I started working with social development organizations, with NGOs in my home province in Mexico, with education network with indigenous communities. That was back then. Therefore, for a number of years, I have been close to the social development sector and with civil society organizations. So when I came back from the fellowship, I worked for 6 straight years on government, on the strengthening of civil society organizations at state level. For the last 4 years, on the other hand, I have been working on my own consultancy together with 3 other colleagues, named Social Embassy Mexico, committed to social development projects. I also serve as the elected president to my Rotary Club. I joined Rotary in 2013, so I will be starting serving as president to my club this coming 1st of July. I teach at university with the Faculty of International Relations with a university here called Universidad Iberoamericana Puebla, Puebla, on peace and conflict resolution with the students. So that, I think that's about it right now.
That's a lot, and super interesting and fascinating, your experience. And I'd love to ask you a lot of questions about that work, but I'd love to know first what kind of sparked your passion for that area to even begin working in that sort of area?
Well, I just like you, I I find, and I say when we met in Atlanta in 2015, I think these kind of topics just come across our lives in a very natural way. Since we are very young, we are driven towards this sector. In my case, I can share that my parents are from Bolivia, both of them. So I very usually say that I have a strong Latin American community identity, because I know that I was born in Mexico by total chance. I could have been born in Bolivia, or my parents, for example, they studied in Russia. They both studied medicine in Russia, so I could have been born there too. But I do have a very strong Latin American identity, and I like to collaborate in social development projects within this region of the world. Of course, just like perhaps everybody of us in this sector, I am touched by developments in other regions of the world, and I am concerned about these developments. But perhaps, given our language in the region, in the Latin American region, sharing the Spanish as a common, as a driven language, but also I speak Portuguese and French, so it's also a familiar land from where I can make collaborations in different regions here. So for example, right now I have been focusing more on local stances, but I will be very happy to further undergo. We say international projects, but I will say community to community projects in different regions or nations. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. And just for those that haven't been to Mexico, like myself, or Bolivia, two places that I would absolutely love to travel to, can you just paint a bit of a picture of, what's it like living in Mexico, and what's your, I don't know if you've spent much time in Bolivia, but what are the kind of cultural differences between Bolivia and Mexico?
Oh, wow, that's a beautiful question. Thank you so much for it. So, for example, Mexico is huge, is really big. Mexico has the size of the entire of Europe, literally. So, as having said that, this means that we have a lot of different cultures between our own nation. We do have tens of native languages spoken by 10% of the population. Yes, Spanish, of course, is the language most spoken across the country, but you might have plenty of people who speak other languages more than Spanish, who are very often also bilingual on Spanish and their language, and sometimes even trilingual because of English with the United States being our neighbor. Also in geographic terms, we have really all seasons. We have all landscapes. We have mountains. We have dry regions. We have the ocean. We have all sorts of ecosystems in the nation. We have one of the largest biodiversity ecosystems across the world, and it's really it's a nation with a lot of ancestral culture. So you can visit plenty of places with ancient buildings, ancient pyramids across the Mesoamerican region, the more central part of Mexico. Furthermore, the industries, there are a lot of diverse industries. Perhaps we can say we have 130 million Mexicans in the nation, plus other 15 to 20 million in the United States. Okay, so and beyond that, for example, Mexico City and its metropolitan area is 20 million people, which is making to one of the largest cities in the world. Other than Mexico City, we have at least three other cities, Monterrey, Guadalajara, and my own city of Puebla, with about 3.5 million inhabitants each. So it's a lot of people indeed. And at the same time, other parts of the country can be way less populated. And in social development terms, we have a lot of human talent across the nation. We have a lot of youth committed to improving the life conditions of their communities. I will say that Mexicans are very creative, entrepreneurial. They will find a solution for everything, and there is a sense of solidarity in the face of adversity. And I think we have a lot of talents that make it for a positive future for our nation. And regarding Bolivia, yes, I have spent way less time in there. Like, I have only visited, like in any family, when I was born, I was taken to be presented. And then at 9 years old, at 29 years old, perhaps I should go now at my 39 years old. Beautiful nation, beautiful people, very warm as a people. They are very loving. One of my favorite places over there is El Salar de Uyuni. It's a salt lake, which is amazing to see. You can take a tour for 1 day or for 3 days and spend overnight and camp in the salt desert, so that you can actually see the beautiful landscapes. If you are lucky enough and it rains, you will find a mirror made between the salt lake and the sky, and you can be totally reflected on your own, and it's just mind-blowing. Yeah. And it's largely indigenous, in terms of about 60% of the population over there speaks one of the native languages. So it's one of the nations in South America with highest component of indigenous population in all of our countries. Yeah.
Incredible. And as you're kind of describing Bolivia and Mexico, I'm getting all these memory flashes of my time in Argentina, because we were so close to Bolivia. We traveled right up north to Hoy Hoy, it was called, and I was so excited to go to Bolivia. But my partner, who I was traveling with at the time, his internet was cutting out the more north we got, and he needed it for work. So we didn't end up managing to get to Bolivia. But when I was younger, I just would love to share this little story. I used to have this fascination for, like, our Mother Mary statues. I used to, like, when I was super young, I used to ask my mum to take me to places where I could see, the religious shops and the Christian shops where you could buy these statues. And I had a whole collection of them. And my mum was kind of going, this is really strange. Like, why is she so passionate about collecting these statues? And I had about 16, 17 of them. And then one day, a woman who had, psychic, intuitive abilities told my mum, just out of the blue, that I used to be a nun in Bolivia in a past life. So I thought that was really interesting, because, like, still today, I'm so drawn to the statue of Mother Mary. I think it's so beautiful, and I've still got one in my room. So
yeah, very religious nations. Very religious nations. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. So I would absolutely love to get to Bolivia one day soon.
I can say you have a house in Mexico, and I will travel together with you to Bolivia too.
Amazing. Bring it on. Yeah, as soon as travel is possible again. So amazing. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about your experience with working with Indigenous people, because I've lived in a few Aboriginal communities here, and it's just been so inspiring for me. It's really inspired and shaped my future. And I just think Indigenous populations of the world are incredibly valuable. They've got this special connection above, with the land and with their culture. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what your experience has been working with those communities.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's important to say that I work with with this region in this region from my 16 to perhaps my 19 years old. So since then, I have gone back forward occasionally, but I'm not for a long time. I have not been working there. But what I can say is, just as in the case perhaps of Bolivia, I will say that it's very loving people. And when this is just people, actually, this is just people. This is just the local culture is very welcoming. And for example, since we were coming to give out of us, so for example, to give maths lessons, so and other this kind of educational tools, they will present us, for example, with food, and that will be just amazing. Like, you will go out in the morning time to say, I invite you to come to lessons, let's say Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 and this place. And they will say, oh yeah, just wait a second, and they will grab fruits or any kind of meals that they will have available, and they will provide you with. And you will try to reject it, but also rejecting it will be like it will be not polite. It wouldn't be polite to reject it. So you will come back after going through the neighbors. You will be coming back loaded with food, and definitely knowing that and all that together with receiving invitation to have a coffee with the families, to have lunch with the families, etc., and all of their kindness, like, or being thankful for the fact that you are being there, but at the same time is you receive so much out of them that you say, well, I'm never going to be able to pay back to you, because what I am bringing in is nothing compared to what I am bringing out with me. So that generosity is something that has been a landmark for me, the generosity of the people of indigenous ancestry. And of course, Mexico being Mexico, you have all sort of, so we do have indigenous people, yeah, people of indigenous ancestry, but all of Mexico and all of Latin America is composed by people like me, with a mixture of features of genetics, of different populations, of different immigrations, etc. So for example, you might be in Mexico City or in my own city, and some people will be speaking indigenous languages, most not, but we have the genetics of our grandparents or grandparents, or and so on. So so the different intensity of indigenous blood in ourselves might change, might diffuse. So the recognition, for example, of being indigenous in Mexico legally is, do you recognize yourself as indigenous? If you do, you are. So for example, for the census matter, if you say, I am indigenous because I have 25% blood, 10% blood indigenous, etc., or just because you feel like, you can state it. I both in that regards, but also in my very own ancestry, I think this is very important, because being in touch with the past of your family is important to help you shape who you are and to get to understand where are you coming from, and saying that if you have been privileged enough as to access some means of education or a certain quality of life, at least in my view, you have a commitment to give back of you to the different communities, meaning the giving back from you is when I teach at university, I feel I am giving back to my community, because these young people I am learning with as well, these people is going to make an impact also in broader communities. So I think it's important that we find a way to pay back. So for example, if you are a business person, when you create jobs, you are also giving back to your community, but doing it intentionally, I think that's important, because we can say, yeah, then everybody is contributing, and yes, indeed. But if you have the intention to create an impact, that will be like that magical moment when you can actually achieve more, because you are doing it with a purpose, because also you can do it with an objective, a measure system with indicators, so that you can actually create an impact for real, and not just in the willingness of. So I think that's when all different sectors combine. So for example, when we speak of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and we foster that the enterprises pursue these goals in between their system, their entrepreneurial system, then we can purposely achieve development goals in our communities. So yeah, I can keep on hours, but let's come back to your better drive of the questions. Yeah.
No, I love that, and I can feel the spirit of generosity in what you're doing as well through that. I think it's everything that you've just said is so inspiring, and it resonates, because I think it is important for us to know our ancestry, and even, you know, and I think, you know, Australia being an island in the other side of the world, it's a lot of ancestry here comes from Ireland and England, and there's a bit of a disconnect sometimes, you know, from our roots. And I remember just, you know, when my grandma passed away, and she was Irish, and just the grief of her passing away, and I just had that real yearning to go back to Ireland and trace the roots, and, you know, where I'm from, where she was from. And it was so healing to be able to do that, and it really did give me that sense of identity, or where I'm from. And it's another depth, you know, to someone's character, I think, when they can understand where they're from. So so yeah,
I can see the tree behind of you, the Irish tree.
Yeah.
And I know Ireland myself. I have been in the Cliffs of Moher, and in general, it's a beautiful land. It's a beautiful land with incredible people.
It is. It's such a special country, I think, in the world, and the spirit of generosity is very alive over there, and the sense of humor. You know, I think it's so important to be able to have fun and laugh at yourself, and laugh at, you know, just, you know, what happens to us as humans. And it's just so there's so much laughter over there, you know, so it's amazing.
Yeah, I remember when I was over there, the bus driver, because I took the for the Cliffs of Moher and other places, I was taking these tour buses, and just the driver was just crazy. He was just so good. Like I will just be laughing the whole time. But in general, the people are just creative, energetic, welcoming. I remember I came to this place. I forgot the name of the very, very famous dance theater. When you have traditional dances being played, you remember the name?
River Dance, was it?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So I was there, and one of the one old lady who was next to me with her grandchildren, with the two granddaughters, which was lovely, because she clearly took them to actually see and they will be doing kind of dancing things, which is amazing, because then you understand that these children are looking at a case example, and perhaps in 10 years from now, they will be in that very same stage, 10, 15 years from now. And so the lady was so attentive to the fact that I was like loving what I was seeing on the stage, that actually she presented me with this. Yeah, she gave me the story.
Wow, the River Dance booklet. Amazing.
Yeah, which was amazing, because I didn't ask for it. And here is the narrative of the entire story of the stage that we were seeing. And this also spoke to me about the generosity of this person. And I will recall how they will say, if you find a traditional, typical Irish person, they will welcome you and invite you over to the place, and they say, "What are you doing here?" And I started a talk with, and she was exactly the precise example of it. Yeah.
And just even the fact that you've got the River Dance booklet right next to you still, do you know what I mean? That was probably years ago, and I think that generosity from human to human is so, like, it can really impact the person's life. You know, you've still got that book like right there next to you. So it doesn't take much for us to be generous, but it can have a massive impact on the lives of others. And I think that's really ingrained in Ireland and Irish culture. And it sounds like, you know, Bolivia and, you know, that part of the world as well. And I think all of us as humans have it. It's just, you know, it's more prominent in different places and people's lives. But we can all probably be more generous and, you know, even generous in our ability to give compliments to others and see, you know, the potential in others, because I think we're all doing our best here as humans and trying to make a difference, as you were saying before. And it really helps, you know, the more encouragement we get from others, it helps to bring it out in us.
And I think what you're saying is connected to the fact that, for example, when we speak of social challenges, so for example, in my country, we can speak about the many challenges being placed by economy, by differences of political ideology, by crime, definitely, even by narcotraffic groups, etc. And something that is important to recognize is that all different persons, they have someone they love, they have a family they trying to provide to, they have a children or a father or a mother or a brother or a wife or a husband or a partner that they care about. And recognizing that humanity on the other is important to seek to step forward and establish a liaison from where we can actually build social tissue or social community tissue. It's easier to say it than to actually do it, but at least being conscious of it, being conscious that the other person also cares about, even if the other person is different from me, and even if that I do not share common values, recognizing the humanity on the other is important to establish those bridges of dialogue that are essential for everything else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of what brings us together, and our common humanity and our common essence as humans is very loving, I think, and just wanting to be happy. We all want the same things. So if we can focus on what unites us and yeah, that love that you're talking about, and that everyone has people that they love and care about around them, it really binds us together and makes community development in the sector that, you know, we both work in easier when you can see that in others and bring people together on that level. But yeah, I just wanted to share just on the generosity topic in Ireland. It was so funny. I was just camping. I went camping with a friend of mine, and it was just the worst possible time to ever go camping. We were the only tent in this big caravan park patch of grass because no one else was camping. And it was raining when we set up the tent, and it was raining when we packed up the tent. And so it was a very cold, long night, and we went out for dinner to this local little pub in a town. And just, you know, you were talking about people being generous and giving you things. I remember having this dinner at the pub, and I was just like, oh, I'm really craving vegetables, like green, healthy vegetables. So I asked the waitress, can you just make like a bowl of vegetables, and do you have a side vegetable? And she goes, no, we don't, but we can make one for you. So she brought out this incredible big bowl of like leafy greens and everything. It was amazing. And then we went to pay at the end, and I thought, God, that's super cheap. So I looked at the receipt, and I said to her, I think you've left out the vegetables. And she she was, vegetables? I'm not going to charge you for vegetables. And I was so shocked, and so I just found it so funny that she was like, I'm not going to charge you for vegetables. Like, why would I charge you for vegetables? So nice. And so many times in Ireland, I would, they're very, very human. So, I didn't have you can't buy tickets on the bus anymore. You used to be able to put change in the bus and the ticket would come out, but now you've got to go to the, convenience store and buy the ticket and actually have it when you jump on the bus. And I didn't know that, so I jumped on the bus and I just had my coins. And I said to the bus driver, oh, bugger, I've forgotten to get the ticket. And he goes, no worries, just jump on. I love that attitude. So cool.
Yeah, and it typically also works. I don't know how this happened to be, but it also seems that whenever you give more out of you, you also receive more. So when you start trying to, I'm not trying to say people, oh, just go away, use money, but when you let go of when you stop trying to save money for everything the whole time, and you just are a little bit more generous about what you have, also that generosity comes back to you. And it seems to, at least I can relate to many examples in my life when that kind of happens, when you just try to let go of the control, and just provide out of you, you start just receiving, just changing that mindset in order to be more welcoming of what life might just bring in, right?
Definitely, I 100% agree, and I've also got lots of examples in my life of that happening. And I think, I believe in energy, so I believe that the energy that you put out there, it's like magnetic, it attracts, and that's created by our thoughts as well. And what is the state of your mind? What's the mental climate of your mind? And I think that attracts a lot into our lives as well. And so what is there anything that's kind of, I'm sure there's a number of things, but at what point in your life, or what points have you kind of thought, oh my God, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? Have there been any stories or happenings where you just thought, oh my God, this is why I do what I do?
There are a number of stances that come to place. I think there is not one marker that totally changed the route of the Titanic. There are in my case, there are small markers that keep on pushing the route. So for example, I recall this one time when I was about 17, 18 perhaps, when we were coming to a community that was affected, indigenous community, the same place where we used to work, but affected by a flood because of heavy rains. So for perhaps a couple of weeks, we brought together food and different items to go take to that community who was 6 to 7 hours away. By the time we reached there was this line of people just awaiting their turn to receive some of the items that we were having with us. And I saw this one man coming from far and walking straight towards us who were delivering the goods. And I saw him and I said, this guy is just trying to skip the line. Yeah. And I was just getting ready to kick him off. And as I say, he came walking straight towards, and when we were face to each other, he just put his hand straight, give a hand, shake, big handshake, a strong handshake, and he said, thank you for everything you are doing. And he turned away and left. And that was very impressive to me. Then he literally left. He just came to say that, do that shake, and left. Yeah, I think that, on a number of occasions, another one that is important to me and is more recent I will say, is nowadays, being a Rotarian, I am involved with one brand of the organization, which is the promotion of the Rotary Peace Fellowship, and this and in this promotion, we try to locate persons who are committed to their communities, who have an intention to pursue a master's degree, to further engage in knowledge, skills, and networks to create a larger impact in the world, in their communities and in the world. And this past month, we were able to, after a selection process of 4 months, to back on 16 different applications from Rotary Peace Fellows. 13 from Mexico, 1 from Venezuela, 1 from Colombia, and 1 from Syria. And one of the contendants, she said at some point, what are you doing this? Like, why to put on so many hours of your own to do it? And I will just think back on that, and I said, well, the reason is I really do not know how much impact in a personal level I will actually achieve. I mean, every day I give a part of me to contribute to myself, to my community, and therefore to the planet. But how much impact does Jorge in personal can actually reach at this point? I'm not sure. But for example, if thanks to this work, perhaps out of these 16 participants, 2 of them win the fellowship. And actually these persons are so extraordinarily impactful, such as Stephanie Woolard, and they go and create an impact for tens, hundreds, or the thousands of people, or furthermore, through public policies, even to shaping the lives of millions of people to come. And I was able, through this effort, to contribute to that. I know that what I am doing is totally worth the effort. And then I will know that I am sharing a legacy with the world through the lives of those that you have touched and been touched by. So for example, you and I, we were touched by a program who was imagined by someone or many someones, many people who put together a lot of energy. And thanks to that energy, you and I and 1,300 more people have received this fellowship and are furthering engaging this, just as the tree that you have behind of you, with all of the roots, just as those roots, through all of these people, the roots are further spreading and connecting with other trees, because of course our fellowship is not the only one existing, but hopefully, as one of my most beloved professors said, Jorge Calles is a mentor of the university, who once told me, the minorities of today are the majorities of tomorrow. So if you want to make an impact, you just trust what you are doing right now. You do it the best you can and put that energy for the best impact to come. And trust it and work on it. Yeah.
I love that analogy as well of the tree. You know, the tree, the roots all connecting. You know, everyone's making a difference in the way that they can, as you just mentioned, and the tree roots kind of slowly connect underground and align with each other to make that change, you know, that's necessary.
That composite planet, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the tree of life, actually. I love the tree of life symbol, because, you know, that brings life. And I think, yeah, that's right. You know, if your intention is so pure and clear and you just really want to work for the greater good. It's amazing how much help and support that you get as well. I think, like what you were saying before, if you're generous, it comes back to you. And I think if your goals and your intent and intention is greater than yourself, you actually are in for an amazing life, and a really interesting journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also the tree of life is very, as a concept, is very strong here in Latin America, and you can have many of cultures who have their own depiction of the tree of life. And of course, as you can imagine, over here is full of fruits and full of colors, which is totally amazing, because you can see this kind of the same representation that you have behind, but you can actually bring it like three-dimensionally, so to say. You can bring your own tree of life and just put it here next to you, which is also amazing. But it's beautiful how many cultures, of course, will who are connected to their ancestry will have this. Yeah.
That's fascinating, and I think it's a really interesting topic as well, because often the tree of life is compared with the tree of knowledge, and there's biblical origins of that too. And the tree of knowledge, that's interesting too. I don't know if you've got any thoughts around that, but the tree of knowledge is more kind of, I think sometimes knowledge can squash that incredible life force that we've got inside of us if it's not used for our advantage, because it can be, put people too much in their heads rather than their hearts. And the tree of life is very much about that, well of life force that we all have inside of us, and connecting to our spirit, to our soul, and that energy, rather than being too heavy in knowledge, I suppose, and trusting that instinct and intuition is the tree of life. So I've found that really interesting, learning about those interpretations of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge.
Yeah. I will share that. For example, I think we are all in a continuous process of learning. So, for example, hopefully we are today better versions that we were 1 year ago, and hopefully in 1 year we will be better versions that we are now. So our knowledge are up to change. We change every day. So perhaps we can learn from our mistakes. We can actually make a mistake yesterday that we deeply regret about. But for example, and I was just asking myself that perhaps half an hour, 1 hour ago, I was thinking, out of that mistake that I made 4 years ago, have I changed it in myself? That's what needed to be changed in order not to repeat the same story. Like saying, if I am aware that this given mistake that I made actually changed my life and my future, and that was very important for me, if I am aware of it now in my current present, have I changed it in myself what needed to be changed not to repeat that story? Well, I like to think that yes, and then I think that I have been improving. I am improving. But in general, it's important that we recognize that we might be more or less aware of the things that need to be changed. But we also need to be compassionate about our own selves, to be able to forgive if the same way that we can forgive others, to forgive ourselves. Say, yeah, I ruined it, I fuck it up, but just life keeps on going, and let's move along with it and try to do our best and learn from this and go further. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super important as well, that we have acceptance and forgiveness towards ourselves to, evolve in the best way ourselves, rather than, get stuck on things and beat ourselves up. I think that's super important. Thank you so much for sharing all of those amazing stories and everything with us and your philosophy on life. It's very inspiring to me, even to be interviewing you and hearing what you're up to. So thanks so much for your time. Thanks for listening to our Inspiring Humans podcast, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any inspiring human in mind that you would like to nominate, please reach out and let us know. Also, you're very welcome to become part of our Facebook group called Inspiring Humans, where you can connect with incredible people from around the globe. Thirdly, if you are interested in being part of a global network, we have an incredible community at 7continentscouncil.com, where we hold events, programs, and many different initiatives that you can be involved in. Thank you, and see you again soon.